Just wanted to drop a real quick video right before bed for you guys. I know it's getting late. It's 10 minutes of 9 here on the East Coast. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, everyone who shows up here every day. I very much appreciate it, especially those of you who continue to show up over at the Patreon channel where it's only $1 per month. What's the difference between YouTube and Patreon? Well, basically the graphic nature, the idea of being able to just speak openly and plainly and not have to color language in a way that doesn't offend anybody. Well, today's video here is probably going to be right at about the edge of what I can get away with on YouTube. It is that graphic. Now, if you'd like to join us at Patreon, it's $1 per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, and fully refundable up to 90 days. It is currently about, the middle of April, so you could watch May, June, and you could watch past the 4th of July at this point. And at that point, if it wasn't for you, you could get all, if you pledged the $1 per month, you get all $3 back. No questions asked. So anyway, for a long time on this channel, in fact, the most popular videos on my channel are the ones talking about the coming prison crisis. Now, I started making these videos way back in 2018, and we technically already are in a prison crisis, but with things getting ready to collapse in a way that they have never before in this country, one of the big unforeseen problems that I have alleged people are not prepared for is this mass crush of millions of incarcerated felons, some of which haven't seen polite society since the 1980s. Some of them have never even used a cell phone, much less a smartphone. They've never logged on to the internet. These are people that have consigned themselves to having been in prison for the rest of their lives. And the prison system en masse is going to collapse. And this is going to cause all sorts of problems. There are going to be places where people thought they were safe, where they're not. And a lot of people have said, well, I've got my ballistic weapon this, my ballistic weapon that. Not all of these people are going to present themselves as a threat. And those who are being released now will do anything to not go back. I have new evidence to show that this is going to be the case. Georgia prison crisis, let me see if I can speak English. Georgia prison crisis worsens amid federal investigations. Now, the DOJ is probing into all sorts of things going on in Georgia that are not so great, and some of you might have seen the article today from Fox. We're going to cover that as well. Fear among prisoners is at an all-time high. Things inside the prisons are getting much, much, much worse. But right down here, Page Dukes, Southern Center, the only answer is to decarcerate. They have no answers to fix this. They absolutely don't. Now, full disclosure, I had a friend who spent some time as a guest down here for the state of Florida for about 3 years. And I have a personal experience being the primary person on the outside, the contact for that person on the inside. And it's a wake-up call. If you've never been that person, that one contact, you really don't have a grasp of how difficult their lives are, and how, if they don't have somebody on the outside, how many orders of magnitude is worse. When they get out, their values, and this was the real big thing that I was trying to share that maybe I didn't communicate properly, their values are going to be way different than ours. What they are going to call a great, fantastic day, a lot of people today would say, oh, this is horrible. This is, man, things are so rough, and the grocery store is so expensive, and man, this, that, and that. They aren't going to complain about anything. A lot of these guys are going to be some of the friendliest you've ever met, because it's going to be one of those oh happy day things. And I made a very controversial statement that I think there are going to be a lot of relationships that are probably on the edge of getting broken up, that are going to be broken up by these guys who are going to need a place to stay, and they're master manipulators. They're really, really good, and a lot of them are in really good shape. And there are going to be a lot of guys that come home and locks are going to be changed and their stuff's going to be out on the front step. Now, I don't care what somebody has done. There are some things that I would not wish as a Christian on my worst enemy. Georgia inmate, and this is not an exaggeration, this is exactly what happened. eaten alive by bed bugs in conditions not fit for a deceased animal, family attorney says. This was in the Fulton County Jail. When they found this inmate, he was in such a state that the corrections officers wouldn't even attempt to use CPR to revive him because the body was so covered and infested with bugs. It was covered with bed bugs, the inside of the mouth, the inside of the nose, the eyeballs, everything, every corner, every crevice of this human being had been eaten alive by bed bugs. Eaten alive by insects, found dead in a jail cell. He was in there for misdemeanor battery. That's all they said. He was in there for arrested for misdemeanor simple battery in Atlanta. And he was mentally ill. And some of the pictures, here's the jail cell they found him in. Absolutely bugs, lice, and vermin. It was absolutely horrible. I'm not going to scroll past that, but one more time. You can stop it if you want to. Hopefully that won't get me demonetized, but what happened to this individual should not happen to anyone. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they've done. It's absolutely horrible. Now, if you were living in a situation like that, and it was that bad, and you found a way out, and you got a way out, and you had a chance to never go back, what would you do to never go back? Anything, right? You would do anything to not go back. Extreme heat driving death in U.S. prisons. This is from March 1 of this year. Now, a lot of people think, well, I can identify prisoners. They're not going to get one by me. Here's a guy who has all sorts of success made now on the outside because he's sold this prison workout deal where he showed people how to turn your body into, this, ripped, shredded, great looking body. He doesn't have any tattoos. And he learned this workout in prison. Now, a guy like this, you look at this picture, the first thing, other than his surroundings there, where you've got the steel door and the cement wall and the concrete, other than that, you wouldn't think prisoner, would you? You wouldn't think ex-con. Yeah, I mean, he's got his hair cut off, but a lot of guys do that. That's not a for sure identifier that this is an ex-con. So this is what I'm warning people of. And there's a channel here on YouTube. Huge. A lot of people think, boy, you go to prison, you go for a long time, you go for a felony, you come back out, your chances of, having any kind of success in life are almost none. This is Christina Randall. And she has 1.38 million subscribers here on YouTube with only less than 400 videos. That's huge for her type of a channel. And her biggest video only has 3.5 million views, and she has a total of 177 million views. This is an incredible success story, and she was in prison for 3 years. And she tells her entire story. My 3-year prison experience, and she goes through everything you go through. And ask anybody who's a YouTuber. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the money on this, but this is big league money. This is big time up here. When you get up in this range, 1.5 million subs and hundreds of millions of views. Just to give you an example, I've been doing this for 7 years, and I have 2,500 videos roughly, being a daily poster for 7 years, and sometimes more than daily. And I have about a grand total of 40 million views, grand total over the whole channel. This gives you an idea of the success level that these folks can have. Now, it goes right along with this story, also controversial as it can be, of people that are going to be desperate when things like this happen, when finances collapse and people are barely hanging on, and they're trying to think, what can we do to make sure the bills are paid next month and next month and next month so that we don't lose what we have, given how many people are already homeless, how many people are already on the edge and don't have a place to stay and are shacking up with friends. What can we do? What can we do to make sure we're not the next statistic? See, that explains this in the lower left and for a long time in the upper right. And I'm not saying this is ideal. I'm not saying people should. A lot of people misread. I'm just saying this is what's going to happen. This is what's, coming down the road. And a lot of people are, probably not really expecting it because they think grid down, power down, end of the world situation. People are going to go tactically camp. And if you look at all of the YouTube videos over the last 20 years that talk about this, maybe no, not 20 years, well, pretty close, 15 years, that talk about this, or it's even survivalists. Let's go back 20 years, survivalists that have talked about this, whether it's been on VHS videos or DVDs or YouTube videos or whatever. The advice givers is like, well, we're going to go, it's all tactical camping. It's all tactical camping. None of it has to do with anything that's going to really happen in reality. How to survive, how to work the underground economy, how to be part of society, but yet not part of it as well. So I know thoughts and prayers are kind of overblown these days, but this cat from Georgia, there's just some things that are absolutely beyond words. And I cannot imagine dying in a jail cell, being eaten alive to death by bed bugs. Anybody who's ever woken up in the middle of the night or seen one or had one in their house knows how mortifying it is and how you stop everything you're doing and you go find every possible solution to the problem, whether it's powder, whether it's spray, whether it's whatever it is trapped, and you call the Orkin man, you do whatever you can, you find it and you deal with it, even when it's just a few. But this guy was living in this little tiny cramped cell with tens of thousands of them. And if that's not a reason to decarcerate, I don't know what is. And what's really frightening about this bedbug thing is bed bugs have one Achilles heel, and I've got people down in the comment section that'll verify this for you. Heat. They don't do well in the heat. You have to basically cook them out. And they don't normally do all that well in colder climates. Now, because they have a range. And the strange thing is, the last 3 years, number one for bed bugs has been Chicago, where it gets bone chilling, freezing ass cold, pardon my French. I mean, really cold for months at a time. It's way below freezing in the Windy City. New York, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, I can kind of get. I would understand why they would have bed bugs. Cleveland and Raleigh, North Carolina. Toledo dropped 7 spots, number 38, and Miami, which was because of lots of other reasons, dipped to number 45. So, this is a whole nother problem in and of itself, but I mean, can you imagine? I just want folks to maybe stop for 1 minute and close your eyes and think. If you ever got put in prison and you had to endure, whether it was 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever, and you got out, how different your attitude on the world would be. What if you'd been in 5 years? What if you'd been in 10 years? You would do anything. You would say anything. You would be anybody to anybody just for one night in an air-conditioned room sleeping on a soft mattress after having had a nice meal. And if you got a little something warm to cozy up to next to you, that's even better. And all you've got to do is stay in shape and be handy around the house. Think about the modern context of men and women. Stay in super really good shape. Be super handy around the house. And be thankful for everything. Imagine how far that would get you with the ladies. Just that alone. So I will leave it there. God bless. Everyone have a wonderful week. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.